For all of you big Disney fans out there, going all the way back from Snow White, coming up to Frozen, up in the sky with Aladdin, and down under the sea, there's always one common thread that we find when it comes to a Disney movie. And that thread is, you have to live happily ever after. Now let's think about it. How does the scene always end? You got the curtain coming down, you got the sun going down, sun setting, and everyone's happily ever after. What is that vision? We have no clue. Could you just imagine, Aladdin, take out the garbage. Jasmine, go back to Saudi Arabia. Prince Eric, could you please take out the garbage? Ariel, go back into the sea. Who knows what life is like after the happily ever after comes in the Disney movie, and that's the beauty of Disney. But we actually get a glimpse of what the real happily ever after is. The Jewish people went down as a family to Egypt, and they had trials and tribulations in Egypt. They were enslaved, we know, for hundreds of years. Then they miraculously are redeemed, they receive the Torah, and then comes your happily ever after moment. What does it look like? If we look in this week's Parsha, Parshas Mishpatim, it's all about laws. Laws of how to treat your servants fairly. Laws of how to be honest in business. Laws of how you're supposed to borrow things and take responsibility with neighbors. The laws go on and on and on. And it's kind of like, this is what I signed up for? You had the miracles. You had the receiving of the Torah. And this is what I'm stuck with? It's the law, how you wake up, how you wash your hands, what you do the entire day. It seems like the entire Torah portion and seemingly the entire Jewish experience is modified by laws. Why? Is that the end-all be-all? Is that the happily ever after that we're looking for? So there's actually one verse in this week's Parsha which I think is very, very telling. Through all of the laws that we're bound by, that are mentioned, which seem to be so burdensome, God says you have 3 pilgrimage festivals. That's, of course, Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. You have 3 pilgrimage festivals. Come celebrate with me in Jerusalem. That's not exactly the verse, but the idea is, come celebrate with me. Come connect to me. The happily ever after of Aladdin and Jasmine is, yes, Aladdin, go out and take out the garbage. That's how it is. We know that when it comes to life, it's not always fantasy, but it's through that hard work and through the details and through the efforts. That's where the relationship is really built. It's not just as fantasy, happily ever after. You know, I had an interesting incident today, Thursday, as I was walking to a doctor's appointment. I was at a red light, and it was one of those red lights on the busiest and longest street in the world, on Yonge Street. And you saw that there were some pedestrians that they were angling. Well, do I try to make the light? I'm not going to make the light. Well, it's red, but maybe if I go now, I won't get hit by a car. And you see, some people went and they ran on the red, and some people said, I'm going to stay. What was I thinking? My thought wasn't, should I go or should I stay? First of all, my thought was, well, I'm wearing one of these beanies, so everyone's going to say, ooh, the rabbi's jaywalking, so I don't jaywalk. But I was also thinking, you know what? There's a different message here. It's not, can I go or can I stay? The message is, God wants me to wait for this red light before I reach my appointment. It's a totally different mind frame. It's a way of looking at a red light as connecting to Hashem. Very, very interesting that the goal of the mitzvot, the goal of all the commandments, is not to burden us down and to shackle us with difficult things to do. It's to remind us of the relationship of God. And so that's really the happily ever after moment that we get. After all is said and done, the redemption came. The Jewish people are en route to the promised land. They have received the Torah. Now is where the work really begins. Now is the true earning your wings for the happily ever after of staying connected to God. And for what reason? So we can celebrate with Him in Jerusalem. Wishing you all a wonderful Shabbos.